Welcome to White Third Tarot, where the reader is bubbly, but the readings can get dark. So today I am going to be working on the readings for all zodiac signs for the third week of November, starting with Aries. Mother of Cups. Five of Cups in the challenge position. The Moon. Six of Swords. And the Father of Wands in the reverse. Ten of Pentacles in the challenge. Death. And the Eight of Wands in the reverse. The first word that came to mind is tempering. I say that because the Ten of Pentacles being in the challenge position makes me feel that you don't feel complete in your life. And the Five of Cups also in the challenge. It feels like, because this card is about a dried up watering hole. It's about repeatedly going back to something that no longer fulfills you. And it's almost like you had this status quo, this way of operating that has always worked for you but doesn't anymore. And you're left with this weird lacking feeling, like something's missing. The Moon, Death, Mother of Cups, and the Eight of Wands in the reverse. This feels like you're being pushed more into your heart. Eight of Wands in reverse feels like being uninspired. The Moon feels like, well, it represents that internal process, going inward, digging into your subconscious. It's also about hidden fears. Death is death and rebirth. It's about starting new, but first deconstructing. Like you have to decay completely for something new to grow. Mother of Cups in the upright feels like encouragement to go into your heart more. Father of Wands in reverse, Six of Swords in reverse. This also feels like it's reasserting that the way that you've always been isn't working. Because the Father of Wands is the King of Wands. And the Wands are fire signs, Aries. It's the way that you are. It's the way that you operate. Passionate, fiery, fast moving. But that being in the reversed, it feels like something deeper is going on that is calling for something deeper within you. Especially with the Mother of Cups in the upright. Also in the challenge, we have Judgment. And Judgment is that aha epiphany moment. And it feels like, with it being in the challenge position, along with the Nine of Wands in the challenge position, and the Nine of Wands is about persistence, hope, recovery. It feels like you're resisting this process. This reminds me of lotus seeds, because lotuses, I'm not sure, honestly, how they do it in the wild on their own. Lotuses are representative of strength, resilience, because they have to grow through the mud. And the seeds themselves, they have these really, really tough outer shells. So I grow lotuses during the summer in my ponds. And I have to grind down some of the outer shell so that it can sprout. How you grow lotus seeds is you have to grind down a lot of that thick outer shell. And it's tough. It is hard stuff. Like you could take a kitchen knife to it and start jabbing at it, and it does nothing. It's some pretty dense stuff. So I take a little grinding tool and I just kind of grind it off, and it's hard not to get your nails when you're doing that because you're holding onto the seed while trying to, but anyway, you have to do that, and then you have to soak it in water for a few days to even get it to sprout. So it's like, how do they even do that in the wild? There's nobody to grind down their seed shells for them. But you do that, and then you stick it down deep into some mud, and that's how they grow. And this process and how you're reacting to it reminds me of that. Because when you think about it, that tough outer shell of the seed is exactly what's inhibiting its own growth. Its nature of being so tough is exactly what's inhibiting its own growth. You're reminding me of a lotus seed right now. Because Aries rules the head in the zodiac. They're headstrong, they're brave, they're tough, they're warriors. They're the warrior archetype. They're ruled by Mars. They know who they are and they stand strong in who they are. But that can also inhibit them from growing, from softening, from changing. When you get so preoccupied with holding on to what you already are, you miss the opportunity to become something more than what you already are. That's what this feels like. You're being called to soften, to be more in your heart, to evolve beyond your brute force, to learn a softer way of being, to dig deeper. But people tend to cope with these uncomfortable feelings, these shifts, by distracting and chasing novelty and staying in the shallows because they're too afraid that if they go deeper, they'll drown. You're going through a death and rebirth. You're meant to drown. You're meant to die. You're meant to decompose and then come back different. So, Aries, it looks like we're in Mercury retrograde right now. And Mercury retrograde is all about self-reflection, revisions of the past, everything that starts with RE, rewind, revisit, remind. That's all in the theme right now. You just got to sit through the suck. Sit through the suck and let it take you. Because if you just remember where the light switch is, wandering around in the dark for a while isn't that scary. If you just remember that at some point you're going to have to come back out of there, that you're not meant to stay in the suck forever, then taking a little visit into the suck and through the suck and sitting through it for a while isn't that scary. But that takes a lot of self-control, because it's not healthy to bypass and move on quickly. Like, I feel like the spiritual community in particular is guilty of that, of spiritual bypassing, of just prompting people to move on faster and faster and get over it. And that's not healthy. People don't operate that way. It's okay to sit and grieve for as long as you need to, but not too long, because you don't want to stay stagnant either. It's about striking that balance between sitting through what you need to feel just enough to grab something from it and grow from it and become better for it. And it's another thing that's coming to mind is a skipping stone. If you toss a stone just right, like, it kind of skips over the surface of the water, and it needs momentum to do that. But once it loses its momentum, it just drops right to the bottom of the lake. We can't run from what we feel forever. Running from our feelings, distracting ourselves from them with novelty, only works for so long. Feelings that you run from don't disappear. They only compound. That's why it's not a sustainable way to be. Once you lose that momentum, you'll sink. Be not the stone that is thrown to propel itself forward. Be the bird that flies with its own wings, with its own strength. You're being asked to delve deeper. Stop running. You have to go through this. You have to go through this for your own sake. Because unless you do, when you run out of fuel, you're going to be stuck at the side of the road in the middle of nowhere with no one to call. You're going through what you're going through because you're not meant to come out the same. Stop trying to protect what you have and start thinking about who you'd rather be. Yep, that feels like that's it. All right, Taurus. Ace of Wands, Six of Cups, Son of Pentacles, Father of Pentacles in the reverse. Five of Swords in the reverse. Daughter of Swords in the reverse. Two of Cups in the upright. Three of Pentacles in the challenge position. Ten of Wands in the reverse. And the Son of Cups in the upright. There's a lot going on here, I'm not going to lie. The Ace of Wands and the Six of Cups together is telling me that it's like you got a second wind when it comes to an old dream. Something that you'd forgotten that you even wanted. Son of Pentacles, Father of Pentacles, Five of Swords in the reverse, though, tells me that there are some external limitations. I say that because we got two cards in the Pentacle suit in the reverse. Probably monetary limitations. Daughter of Swords in the reverse, too. It almost feels like, because that's my card of being discerning, but also being tuned in with your heart. The Daughter of Swords, I feel like, represents just a little bit of softness in that mercurial energy. Two of Cups in the upright. Three of Pentacles, Son of Cups. Ten of Wands in reverse. The Tower. Father of Wands in reverse. Hierophant in reverse. Ten of Pentacles in the challenge. Ah, there it is. Eight of Cups. Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. Daughter of Cups in the challenge. Daughter of Pentacles in the upright. This feels like something shook up your world and made you question everything. Your way of being, your motivations, your foundations. Daughter of Cups and Daughter of Pentacles. It feels like you're getting back on your feet materially, but emotionally, not quite there yet. Because the Eight of Cups is about loss, abandonment, withdrawal. Feels like that's the hang up. Ten of Wands in reverse tells me that you're having a hard time putting down the emotional burdens of what you just endured. Wheel of Fortune in the reverse was like a string of bad luck, one thing after the other. I think, I'm not too familiar with astrology, but I think there was something going on with Uranus. Like it's it's almost out of Taurus. It's been in the sign of Taurus for the last 7 years. And around the beginning of 2026, it's going to leave for good and move into Gemini full time. And like it went into Gemini for a minute, retrograded, and then it's going back into Taurus for like the last shebang, and then it's going to leave beginning of 2026. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the last 7ish, 8ish years, it's been the wildest time of my life. Like I almost died. I got diagnosed with Chiari malformation, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS, MCAS, like all the comorbidities that go along with them. And, I went from being a hustler to someone stuck in a wheelchair for a year and then had to recover from all that. And I had ended a very abusive relationship, entered another relationship, left it 5 months later because I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And it's like the last 7 to 8 years and this last shebang that Uranus is having in the sign of Taurus, it's been a lot. It has been a lot, but we're closing out a chapter here soon. And so it's almost like we are going through the last bit of construction work. We were broken down completely over the last 7 to 8 years. And we're looking at the light at the end of the tunnel finally. I know that I have changed on a fundamental level, and I currently am changing again. Because I used to have a lot of golden retriever energy. I used to be the type of person that would come into a new place and it didn't matter if people were treating me like shit. I would keep wagging my tail and hoping for the best until they decided to change their mind and like me, because I'm a likable person. I am friendly, I am personable, I am bubbly, I'm adorable. But some people are ovens, not microwaves. They don't warm up to you immediately, and I always put the effort in to get them to warm up to me. But due to the experiences that I just went through here in the recent months, I am becoming a person who I will do the make eye contact, smile, and nod thing. And if you don't do it back, I'm never doing it again. And it's not because I'm jaded. It's not because I'm bitter. It's not because I'm angry. It's because I've learned to save my energy. I've learned to apply it more wisely. I've learned that energies need a budget too. Not just money, not just time. Your energy needs to be budgeted too. So it's like we're going through a period of time where we are looking at the way that we are and trying to figure out what we want to keep and what we don't. Like, how do I maintain my essence while also being someone that can protect myself, protect my energy without being cold? And that's what we're doing. We're looking for the balance. And that is going to change your social circles. It's going to change your day to day, because not everybody likes it when you switch up and start having boundaries all of a sudden, when no becomes a full sentence to you, when you refuse to explain yourself anymore and you choose to just be. There are going to be people that can accept that and love you through that, love you for that, be happy for you that you're finally taking care of yourself, and people that don't like being told no. So it's like what I'm looking at here with the Tower, the Father of Wands in the reverse, the Hierophant in the reverse, Ten of Pentacles in the challenge position, the Eight of Cups in the upright, the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, Ten of Wands in reverse. It's like you're going through that whole process of figuring out who you'd rather be. Who do you want to be now? This Two of Cups, the Two of Cups is about intimacy. It's about human connection. You're learning to connect with others in a different way now too. As in, perhaps, for example, you've always been a people pleaser. So the dynamic has always been you just go with whatever the other person says. Or let's say you've always been a little more standoffish and you've shut out the wrong people before. and ended up self-sabotaging and hurting yourself for it. It's like in learning to balance your own nature, how you want to be, how you want to present yourself, reprioritizing, reconstructing your way of being. It'll change the way you connect with others too. Any advice? Five of Wands in the reverse. And the Lovers. You know, it's really easy to become more closed off and defensive after everything that we've been through with Uranus. But find that balance where you're still open, you're still brave, but not naive anymore. Because the Two of Cups to the Lovers is telling me that you just might have, and I usually don't interpret the Lovers as the Lovers at all. I interpret it as the choice. But with the Two of Cups turning into the Lovers here, it almost feels like you just might have a good connection coming in to your life. Don't fight it when it comes because you're traumatized. And remember that your scars are not that person's fault. It's all a balancing act. You want to protect yourself, you want to be discerning, you want to stay safe. But putting yourself out there takes courage. Letting the light in means you have to open the curtains. And opening the curtains means that you can see the outside and the outside can see you. But you have to open the curtains to let the light in. All right, moving on to Gemini. Oh, that was a terrible shuffle. All right. Father of Pentacles in the reverse. The Magician. Judgment. Nice. Six of Cups. Okay. Father of Cups. Ten of Pentacles in the reverse. Six of Swords in the reverse. Eight of Swords. Five of Swords. Nine of Swords. Okay. Well. So, remember how last week I was talking about how, let's say your house burned down and right now you're trying to figure out what three things you would check on first if your house burned down? Gemini, I'm not going to lie, this is feeling a lot like you're burning your house down on purpose. As in, Ten of Pentacles reverse, Father of Pentacles reverse, Six of Swords reverse, Eight of Swords, Nine of Swords in the upright. But then we also have the Magician, Judgment, Six of Cups, and the Father of Cups in the upright. It's almost feeling like you're looking at your present reality. You've figured out the three things that you would check on first, and you're just like, all right, time to torch the house. And it's not out of like confusion. Like it feels certain. It feels like you're ready for the aftermath. Because the feeling that I started to get as I was pulling these cards is it's almost like you went back and went, what were my childhood dreams again? Because we're in Mercury retrograde right now, and I'd imagine that it would hit Gemini harder than the rest of us because, Mercury is Gemini's ruler. And it feels like you went back and you were like, what did I want to be when I was a kid again? Oh, yeah, that. Because this thing mattered to me. I'm not living my childhood dreams. And this is just an example. Could also be like, why did I fall in love with this person again? Why did I decide to get with this person again? Why did I decide to join this community again? Why did I decide to do this again? And then going, oh, yeah, that was why. Am I doing that now? No. And then you just go, all right, puts the sunglasses on, pours the gasoline, strikes the match, walks away in slow motion while everything's just blowing up behind you. But the magician in judgment here is telling me that you're doing this because you know you're going to rebuild to what it was supposed to be to begin with. The Father of Pentacles in the reverse, while the Father of Cups is upright right beneath it, tells me that you're less concerned with the material right now. I'm more concerned with how your life feels rather than what it looks like. Five of Wands in the reverse. Eight of Cups in the upright. Seven of Swords in the upright. The Emperor in the reverse. The Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. This is starting to feel more like you're starting to realize that you were just dragging yourself through this at this point. It was no longer fulfilling. It was no longer empowering. It was no longer adding to your life. It was just taking away from it. Because the Seven of Swords is about trickery and deceit and theft and all that stuff. But this feels like you were doing that to yourself. I say that because the Five of Wands is in the reverse, and it feels like you weren't fighting a battle that you were supposed to fight. It's kind of like, people that just kind of do this instead of arguing back, kind of thing. Instead of engaging, they just hold it in, keep the peace, keep the status quo going. And it feels like you did that for a very long time. But that's not what you wanted for yourself. And you're feeling that now more than ever. So you're less concerned about how this turns out for you financially, materially, tangibly, visibly. And you're more concerned with how your life feels to you. Yep, there we go. The world. Endings and beginnings. Cycles. And again, we have a Father that is in the reverse, and it's the Father of Swords. While the Father of Cups is in the upright, that's telling me you're just following your heart now. You're like, I don't care if it makes sense to anyone else. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else but me. It's like the vibe that I'm getting is you're doing something with your life that makes everybody else clutch their pearls and go, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And you're just like, I'm not. I'm just feeling. I'm just vibing, man. I'm just going where the good vibes are. Good for you. And something tells me, especially with the Magician and Judgment being here, that you're going to make something even better happen for yourself as a result of this. Like, it feels radical, but for some reason it doesn't feel scary. It feels like, finally. That's what it feels like. All right. Moving on to Cancer. Magician in the challenge position, 10 of Pentacles in the reverse, 6 of Wands in the reverse. The Hermit. Temperance in the reverse, 3 of Cups in the challenge position, 5 of Wands in the reverse, But then we have the Sun of Cups and the Ten of Cups in the reverse. This feels like right now you're not trying to subtract or add to your life. You're trying to maintain because you need that level field to go through this, the Hermit. And the Hermit's about turning inward, processing toward enlightenment. Temperance in the reverse, along with the Three of Cups in the challenge position, is also telling me, along with the Five of Wands in the reverse, is telling me that there's something in your environment that is inhibiting your healing. It's like you're trying to heal while your hand is still in the shredder, actively getting shredded. Son of Cups in the upright with the Ten of Cups in the reverse. Ten of Pentacles was in the reverse too. Feels like, why am I getting this phrase that like everything you thought would make you happy didn't? And the Son of Cups is saying that you're trying to find whatever it is that you feel is missing. Yeah, Four of Cups in the challenge, that's about letting opportunities pass. Because Four of Wands in reverse. Again, everything that you thought would make you happy didn't. Three of Swords in the reverse. Tower in the reverse, Two of Wands in the reverse. This is almost like that feeling of the tower crumbled and then you started rebuilding and you got like midway through it and you're like, no. and and then you just you're not tearing it back down. You're not continuing to build. You're thinking. It's like you're just thinking. It's like you just kind of absent-mindedly went with whatever felt good at the time. And now you're just kind of frozen in place. Like, I thought this was going to make me feel better, but it really doesn't. And I'm not sure what would. And that's totally fine because we're in Mercury retrograde right now. And so you're not expected to be productive in any sort of way right now. Any advice? Mother of Wands in reverse. And the Ace of Swords in the challenge position. That's interesting because the Mother of Wands is about holding on to what she has, protecting it for dear life. She's in the Wands suit of the tarot, but she's not about action. She's about holding her place. And the Ace of Swords is about initiation. It's about new communication. It's, all aces are about new, but it's in the challenge position. So it's almost like it's saying that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing right now. How this turns out for you, I don't know. You don't know. But this is a message to be still. It's okay to be still. Like, it might feel uncomfortable because we're kind of programmed to think that we have to be doing something at all times, but that's not true. Sometimes it's okay to just be still. That must have been a really frustrating message to you guys, but that's all I got. That's all I got, and that's all they're saying. Is if you're building and it doesn't feel right, but you don't know what you want to do next, just be still. Be still until it comes to you, and that's okay. All right. Now, moving on to Leo. All right. High Priestess. Son of Pentacles. Ace of Wands in the challenge position. The World. Mother of Pentacles in the challenge position. Father of Swords in the upright. Mother of Swords, Seven of Pentacles in the reverse. Five of Swords in the upright. Two of Pentacles, Six of Cups in the reverse. All right, Leo, this feels like, so the High Priestess is about what is hidden, mystery, spirituality, intuition. I associate her with kind of like the 8th and 12th houses in the astrology wheel. Those themes. We have the Son of Pentacles, and that's about someone who doesn't have that many friends, kind of tends to keep to themselves. They're established and they're steady, but they're also a little withdrawn. Ace of Wands in the challenged position, Pentacles, Mother of Pentacles, the World in the challenged positions. This feels like you're maintaining steady in an environment where you can't really fully sprout. Because usually when I see the High Priestess in a reading, I get a little excited because, she's one of my favorite cards to see. I'm not feeling that here. Because between the Father of Swords and the Mother of Swords, the Father of Swords is in the upright while the Mother of Swords is in the reverse. And then the Seven of Pentacles is in the reverse, and the Five of Swords is in the upright. It feels like, honestly, between the two, between the Father of Swords and the Mother of Swords, the Mother of Swords, it has the more critical eye. She's the one that is more watchful because she uses her intuition, while the Father of Swords uses his wisdom. He's acting from a place of experience and what he's seen before. The Mother of Swords trusts her gut instincts a little more. He's reading patterns, she's reading energies. And with the Seven of Pentacles, the period of contemplation, what do I want to invest in type of thinking in the reverse, while the Five of Swords is in the upright, which is about self-destruction. And then we also see the Two of Pentacles and then the Six of Cups in the reverse. And the Six of Cups, it's the roots that are sticking out to me right now. This feels like you're in an environment where you don't feel like you can sink your roots in, like you can't get too comfortable where you're at. And it's like your gut knows that. Mother of Swords being here, High Priestess being here tells me that your gut knows that. Because otherwise, if you felt more comfortable where you are, your energy would be more open, not like the Son of Pentacles. The Mother of Pentacles is about generosity. She's about nurturing. That being in the challenge position is telling me that you're having a hard time investing more of yourself wherever you're at. Ace of Wands in the challenge position is also telling me that you're having a hard time feeling inspired wherever you're at. Like, for example, if this is a love situation, the Father of Swords would tell you, oh, they haven't hit you. They opened the door for you. They're doing good. But the Mother of Swords is the voice in your head that tells you, but something is off. She's the voice in your head that's telling you, why don't I feel like I want to pour myself into this person? Why don't I feel like I want to nurture this? Why don't I feel like I want to invest more of myself into this? That hesitation in itself is telling you something. Any advice? Five of Cups. We keep getting this card for Leo. And it's about going back to a dried up watering hole. With it being in the advice, it feels like they're just saying stop doing that. Because what is right for you should make your heart swell. People inherently treat what they value very well. People inherently open and blossom when they're in an environment that they trust and feel safe in. And this is whether we know we're doing that or not. It's harder to hide how you feel than you think, especially to someone that knows what to look for. So if you dig into how you feel and you notice that you're having a hard time opening, blossoming, that in itself means something. All right. Moving on to Virgo. So far, we have the Son of Cups in the upright, the Seven of Wands in the reverse, the Father of Cups in the upright, the Eight of Wands upright, Chariot reverse, Magician reverse, Hangman upright. High Priestess in the challenge, Son of Pentacles in the challenge. Oh, this is telling me between the Son of Cups, the Father of Cups, it's kind of dotting through Seven of Wands reverse, Eight of Wands upright. This is telling me that there is a part of you that feels like you're watching your dreams and your goals crumble before your very eyes. Not sure why that was the phrase that came to mind, but it feels like between the Chariot and the Magician being in the reverse while the Hangman is in the upright, it feels like you are responding to this feeling by pushing through it, thinking maybe you need more discipline, maybe you need more chutzpah, maybe you need more push, more hustle. The Hangman is saying, no, you need to redirect. You need to shift. It's like you're walking and then you bump into a wall, and then your emotional response is to go, oh no, I can't go where I'm trying to go. And then so you just keep ramming into this wall, trying to get through the wall. But the door is only 2 steps to the left. High Priestess, Son of Pentacles in the challenge. Seven of Swords in the challenge. And the Emperor. So the Emperor is the Emperor is a little bit more of a rigid energy. The Emperor is someone that represents tradition, law, the way things ought to be. For some reason, looking at the Seven of Swords, trying to figure out where it fits in all this, I heard the phrase, the system is rigged. High Priestess can represent what is hidden. Son of Pentacles is about keeping to yourself. This almost feels like, there's a lot that you're not letting on because you think that it looks like weakness. You know, something that's coming to mind right now is prey animals are kind of programmed to hide their pain. Prey animals are a lot tougher when it comes to enduring pain and functioning through it than predators are. They basically act like they're totally fine until the day that they die. And that's because they know that if they show even the slightest bit of weakness or vulnerability, a predator will come and target them. Predators, on the other hand, they'll limp, they'll pant, they're a little more open about their distress. I mean, they're not like soccer players where they, like bump their shin a little bit and they're just like on the ground rolling around like screaming, but they can afford to be a little more open with their pain because they don't have that mindset of what if there's somebody out to get me. They know they're the scariest thing in that environment. They're not watching their back as much. They're watching for prey. Looking at this, I guess the reason why that's the story that's coming to mind is because you're acting like a prey animal. Refusing to show weakness, refusing to show vulnerability is not a sign of strength, it's a sign of fear. Thinking like a predator will direct your mind more toward being out and in the open, to walk with a sense of certainty and self-assuredness. Being a predator means walking around believing that you are the scariest thing in the environment. And so you are safe to be louder and more visible and more yourself. What's the advice? Eight of Cups, Mother of Swords. For whatever reason, the phrase that comes to mind is know when to retreat. And also the phrase, it's not defeat, it's strategy. Okay, moving on to, who's after Virgo? Libra. The Devil in the reverse, the High Priestess in the upright. Four of Swords in the reverse. Daughter of Wands in the challenge. Eight of Swords in the challenge. Daughter of Cups. The Empress. And the World. You're healing. Devil in the reverse into the High Priestess. It's like you're switching gears from obsession and control to awareness, intuition. And the High Priestess is actually the card for Libra in the tarot. So you're representing yourself. It's like you're standing in your own power. Four of Swords in the reverse. Healing's not done, but that's where you're headed. Daughter of Wands in the challenge. Eight of Swords in the challenge. It seems that the hiccup in this process right now is that one, you feel stuck. You feel sharp and prickly. Like you're having a hard time embodying softness. Because the Daughter of Wands is about being sweet, kind, while also not being one to be messed with. But that's in the challenge position along with the Eight of Swords. And that tells me that you might be harboring some guilt surrounding the sharper things that you have to embody. We have the Daughter of Cups, the Empress in the upright along with the World. Okay, this is getting complex. So a lot of the woo-woo spiritual community will tell you love and light, like you're supposed to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time. But that's not healthy either. The ideal is a balance, to walk in peace but carry a big stick, to do no harm but take no shit. And there's a lot of guilt surrounding the rougher parts that are necessary for your next cycle, your next path. You're having a harder time accepting and embodying the edges without guilt or shame. And something tells me that because of that guilt and shame, those rougher edges have always been there, but they've come out sideways. They've come out in maladaptive ways because they're not integrated. It's almost like, let's say there's a part of you that, whenever somebody says something stupid, like in your head, you just go, well, that's dumb. But then you don't say it. You just keep it to yourself. And you're like, love and light, everything is all sunshine and rainbows and I shit cupcakes, but then when you finally snap from time to time because you just internalized way too much, you just blow the fuck up. Like that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, is all of that shadow that you're not integrating just comes out sideways. but it doesn't stay in there. It doesn't stay hidden. It just comes out sideways. So it's like the ideal version of yourself that you're trying to embody, because that's what everyone else keeps telling you you're supposed to look like. Like, here's the cookie cutter of a spiritual person. You're supposed to always be love and light and always be happy and nice. Being nice and being kind are two different things. Being polite and being kind are two different things. Like, it's not about what's on the surface. It's about what's inside. You can absolutely be spiritual and be dark as hell at the same time. Look at Hecate. It's about striking a balance. And when you're not in balance, all of the things that you suppress to try to fit a cookie cutter mold just comes out sideways. And that is your hang up, is learning to integrate the things that you keep trying to hide. What's the advice? Two of Pentacles, Justice, Eight of Pentacles, and the Sun. See, this is exactly what I mean. Justice is about balance. Justice is about balance. Light and dark, yin and yang. Two of Pentacles, again about balance. It's about juggling. It's about balance. Eight of Pentacles with the Sun. The Sun, in this reading, it feels like a blazing hot kind of energy. Like, some people think of the sun and think, oh, sunshine, like a nice warm spring day. I think a ball of fire, a giant ball of flaming fire that would just melt anything that tried to approach it. But it is also the source of light and life on earth. I mean, the sun and the presence of water are basically why we're all here. This is about duality. This is about balance. This is about becoming multifaceted rather than swallowing everything that's too complicated to show and choking on it. This is about embracing your shadow. This is about integration. Healing is not a process that's just meant to make you feel better. Healing is a process that turns you into someone else. Healing is a process that demands change. It's not about soothing an ache. It's about transmuting it. And I feel like that's where you're at. The Sun is a very positive card. It's about ultimate happiness, but also remember that it is a source of power. Even the sun that represents the bright and cheery life force energy, warmth, light, is a flaming ball of fire. Everything that we consider beautiful in nature has a brutal and gross side. It is the nature of nurture, or it is the nature of nature. There we go. And you too are a part of it. Nothing is 100% perfect and pretty and beautiful. Everything has a dark and ugly side. And in my opinion, that in itself is beauty. Then again, I tend to gravitate toward the morbid, obscure, grotesque. But basically what I'm saying here is beauty is not so two-dimensional. Goodness is not so two-dimensional. So whatever ideals you have for yourself that were instilled in you from teachings that never went any deeper than the surface need to be discarded now. You are meant to be more complex than that. Scorpio. Okay, I dropped this card like 3 freaking times while I was trying to pick it up, but it's basically the Nine of Wands in the challenge position. Strength in the upright. 6 of Cups in the upright. 9 of Pentacles in the upright. 9 of Swords in the challenge position. Two of Pentacles in the reverse. The Moon. Three of Cups in the upright. Well, this feels like you're starting to establish your own roots. This feels like I'm talking to a Scorpio that only ever knew how to be with someone else, that they didn't know how to be alone. And you're starting to establish your own roots. Strength, Nine of Pentacles, those are cards of independence. Strength is about strength that comes from the heart, not stubbornness, not ego. The strength comes from the heart. Three of Cups is about harmony. It's usually about, well, it's about community, but this almost feels like, yeah, you're building your own community of people. You're building your own world. Because people tend to put a lot of pressure on partners. They want them to be their entire universe. But that's not fair or feasible. People were meant to have solar systems, other planets. And I'm not talking about polyamory or any sort of relationship dynamic. I'm saying that you need friends. You need some sort of family, even if it's not blood relatives, like a makeshift family or something. You're supposed to have a lot of people in your life that look out for you and care for you. Humans were never meant to be solitary or just two people. Like, two people is not a family unit. If you look at the history of human nature, if you look at like indigenous tribes or like Asian families or Mexican families, like, it's a bunch of generations living together. It's like aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas and grandkids and everybody living together and making it work. It's a team effort. It's not just two people figuring it out, and it's not just one person figuring it out alone. So a lot of people seem to think like, oh, it's really tough doing this all on my own. I need a partner. And then they get into a partnership, but that's not enough. You're supposed to have your own solar system. It's not fair to make a partner be your universe. It's not fair for you, and it's not fair for them. And it's almost like you're finally figuring that out. Like, independence doesn't look like just being alone and being able to do it all alone. No, that's not independence. That's what people who haven't figured out connection mistake aloneness for. There are a lot of people that think that being alone and doing everything alone equates to strength. And honestly, I think it's cowardice. People do that because people are complicated and have their own needs, and they're not capable of the give and take part. And they don't want to be responsible for anyone else. And so they don't let anyone be responsible for them either. They just run from connection, and they do everything on their own because they're too scared to connect. That's not independence, that's cowardice. That is the consequences of long-term avoidance. That is the consequences of long-term codependency on a relationship built on a faulty foundation that was never meant to last. And they fall from that tower, and they're still in the mindset that that person was supposed to be their end-all be-all, their entire solar system. And once that person is removed from the equation, they don't know how to function anymore. And then when they get back up and they think that now they have to do it all alone, it's not independence. That's just what someone does when they haven't figured out how to really connect with people, when there's no sex involved, when there's no promise of marriage involved, when there's no children in the future involved, when there's no strings attached. How do you connect with people? When there's no promise that they'll be in your life forever, when you're not bound by contract or obligation, how do you connect then? This is about learning how to connect on a more genuine level and figuring out how vital those connections are, those real connections are, for any person to survive this world. In a world where a lot of people don't even understand what the word independence really means, what the word freedom really means. Freedom doesn't feel like a cage, obviously. But a lot of people that go it alone insist that they're free and they're independent. Then why don't you have the option to call someone if you need a shoulder? That doesn't sound like a free existence. It sounds like a severely limited one. I'm going on this rant and it all sounds harsh, but what I'm saying is, based on the way these cards came out, that's what you're figuring out. You're figuring out the importance of community and establishing yourself independently within that community, connecting in a healthy way. Any advice? Hanged Man and the Seven of Wands. Okay, so for whatever reason, this is telling me that you are going through a delicate process as you're navigating through this, and you need to be mindful of the directions you take in your healing. As in, if you've always operated a certain way, going the direction that feels right to you is not necessarily going to be the right direction. If you're trying to change, you need to take a route that you've never taken before. And that's the route that feels scary because it's new. So doing what feels right to you while you're in the process of trying to change and do things differently is not the right way to go. How do I word this better? It's like, let's say you've always lived in a small town in Nebraska and you're trying to navigate to a city nearby that you've never been to before. Setting your GPS to the corner store that you know how to go to, that you've been to a million times, is not going to get you to that city. Like taking the roads that you know is not going to get you anywhere new. You need to go down roads that you've never been through before if you're trying to do something different. Yeah, that's the best way that I can put it. I say that because the hangman's in the challenge position and he's about seeing things from a different perspective. The Seven of Wands is about recovery. It's about the light and the dark. It's your compass, your direction. And so what I'm saying here is, yeah, again, if you're trying to do things differently, then don't do the things that feel good. Do the things that scare you. Don't do the things that seem right to you, because what has seemed right to you led you somewhere you didn't want to be to begin with. So you just wind up doing the same thing again. So if you're trying to switch directions, I know it's a really weird message because normally I'm not one to be like, don't trust your gut. But I'm saying if you're trying to reprogram your gut, then trusting your gut and following it without question is just going to wind you up in the exact same spot. There needs to be a breakage. Like there's going to be a period of time where how you feel and what you're choosing to do are mismatched. Like say you have a type, a specific type that you always go for, and they tend to be toxic. They tend to end up being not good for you, and you keep going through the same type of tumultuous relationship. So the next time you see that type of person, your gut, your heart is going to be like, I like that person. I want to go for this person. I don't know why I sound like Dobby right now, but you already know mentally that every time you've gone for that type of person, it has ended up badly. So while your heart is going, I want that person, you need to choose to do the exact opposite of that and not go for that person, not engage with that person. Choose someone else that feels better, that does better, that can demonstrate to you that they are better than the type that you keep going for. Does that make sense? So it's like as you're shifting lanes here, it's gonna not feel right for a while because you're doing something different. You're doing something new. It's like riding a bike for the first time. Of course, it's not a comfortable experience. You're like, why is the seat up in my butthole? Like, it is not a comfortable experience, but this is what transformations like this are not meant to be comfortable. They are meant to be uncomfortable. So you are going to be uncomfortable. Okay, I think I've spat out like the same thing in so many words. So hopefully you get what I was trying to say here. Okay, moving on to Sagittarius. Nope. I was going to say that first shuffle felt really nice and smooth, but then we jammed up in the second one. There we go. Back to nice and smooth. Perfect. Okay. All right. Sag. Son of Pentacles in the challenge. Whoa. The Magician in the upright. Okay. Ace of Cups in the upright. Nice. Father of Cups in the upright. Also nice. Five of Pentacles in the challenge. Death in the challenge. Five of Wands. Six of Swords. Okay. For some reason, I just heard the phrase playing along. The Lovers in the challenge. Playing along. So between the Son of Pentacles, the Five of Pentacles, and Death in the challenge position, and the Five of Wands in the upright, this feels like there is this underlying tension. And this underlying tension feels like it's coming from the suppression of self-expression. It's like you're holding your tongue. Six of Swords is about recovery, but then the Lovers is in the challenge position. The Magician, Ace of Cups, and Father of Cups are in the upright, though. This almost feels like it's like, let's say that you've applied for the same job like a million times, and you finally got an interview, you got accepted, you got the job, congratulations. Now you're there, you're in the building, you have a desk. And now that you're working it, you're starting to see like some things that you don't like, but you tried so hard to get in there. So you're just holding your tongue. There are things that you're dissatisfied with, but you're scared to negotiate because you feel like you're on thin ice because of how hard it was to get in there to begin with. And so you're not fully expressing yourself. And it's your dream job. I mean, it has its flaws, as every job does, but it's like you're skating on thin ice. So you're just like, I'm just going to take what I can get in this situation. I don't have the right to ask for anything else. And it's like, because on one hand, there's like a lot of happiness. This is like, yes, this is what I manifested. It's fulfilling to me. My heart is full. But it could be better if, all this was a little bit better, but I'm not going to say anything. Because the Lovers, it's a choice, but it's also a match. And this feels like, yes, you matched and you're in the right place. It's just not 100% perfect. But because of the circumstances of how you got there, you can't even ask for it to improve. Like, that's what this feels like. It's a really weird spot to be in because it's like, yeah, I'm happy to be here, but I'm so happy to be here and just grateful that I'm here. that now I'm miserable in other ways. Anything for the advice? The Emperor and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Casper, you're being a little aggressive here. Ace of Pentacles in the reverse and the Emperor in the advice. Okay, so what's striking me about the Emperor right now is just how tall and like straight up the tree is. Like it's standing in its power, it's standing in its authority. It's demanding space. I mean, the Emperor is not depicted as a tree in a forest, it's depicted as a tree right under the sun where there's nothing else around. Like there's room for the Emperor to grow as tall and wide as it wants. Basically, this feels like, let's say you got that job, right? You made it. You finally made it in. And you're holding your tongue. You're staying quiet. You're trying not to cause any waves. But what if they hired you to make some waves? What if they hired you because they saw something in you that told them that you're going to be the person to change the status quo, that you're going to be the person that brings in change, that you're going to be the person that reinvents them because they've needed it. And here you are holding your tongue, trying to keep the peace when they didn't hire you to be a peacemaker. They hired you to be the reset button. And this isn't just about a job. This is about really any circumstance in your life. Could even be a partnership. But it feels like you're suppressing the very thing that you're wanted for because you're so nervous to lose the thing that you had to jump through a lot of hoops for to get. That's what this feels like. So basically, Sag, your advice, and I can't believe I have to tell a Sagittarius this, but take up space, use your voice, act like a fire sign, because that's why you were wanted to begin with, not because you're compliant, but because you're competent. Okay? Now, moving on to Capricorn. Ace of Cups in the reverse, the Magician in the reverse, Son of Pentacles in reverse, Eight of Pentacles in reverse, the Sun in the upright, High Priestess in reverse, Father of Pentacles in the challenge, Mother of Wands in the challenge, Father of Wands in the challenge, Three of Pentacles in the reverse, Nine of Cups in the reverse, the Fool. Honestly, overall, this feels like identity loss. This feels like ego death. Because almost everything's in the reverse, and we're in a Mercury retrograde right now, and that makes sense. Also because the Nine of Cups is about independent emotional fulfillment. Three of Pentacles is about planning. That's in the reverse. Ace of Cups is in the reverse. Ace of Cups is an offer from the heart, but it's almost like, for some reason, I just heard myself saying, you don't know what's in there. It's like offer your heart, but you don't know what's in there. You don't trust your own water. It's kind of say like if somebody comes over and they're like, hey, can I have a glass of water? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then you turn on the tap and you give them the glass, or you hesitate to give them the glass because there's a part of you that's questioning, like, what is in my water? But on an emotional level, if that makes sense. And we have the Magician, Son of Pentacles in reverse, Eight of Pentacles in reverse, High Priestess in reverse. It feels like a very like wafty, out of touch kind of energy. High Priestess is about intuition, the unseen, spiritual energy. and that's in the reverse. Son of Pentacles. The Pentacles are about foundations, material. Eight of Pentacles is about your craft and mastery, working towards something. But also right now what's sticking out to me is the web and the nature of the way the spider hunts. They don't hunt, they don't chase, they attract. They set up their web, they do what they do best, and they let nature take its course. And what's coming to mind right now is like a spider that set up its web and it keeps like catching leaves and stuff along with bugs. And it's like I don't know what I'm supposed to eat. Father of Pentacles, Son of Wands, Mother of Wands, and the challenge. That's about drive and ambition. It's kind of like it's hard to get in the car, start the car, get the engine going when you don't have a destination in mind. But you know what? Three of Pentacles in the reverse, that's about planning and organization. And that tells me that that's because right now you're supposed to be in a place where you get in the car, start the engine, start driving, even if you don't know where you're going. Because it's when you don't know where you're going and you're just wandering around, it's when you find the best places. It's when you cast your web and you just let whatever it catches get caught. Is when you find things that you never knew you wanted or needed. It's about being open and receptive instead of trying to figure out what you want. It's like right now it's about figuring out, or not even figuring anything out. It's about just casting a wide net and going, I'll catch what I catch, I guess. And I'll see if I like it or not. Because that's something that I feel like people don't tend to do. There's a ladybug on my neck. Anyway, that's something that people don't tend to do. Like when you're a kid, they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then they expect you to go through elementary school, junior high, high school, college, maybe trade school, maybe, depending on what you said you wanted to be, and just stay on that track for the rest of your life. But how are you supposed to know what you want when you haven't seen everything in the world? How are you supposed to know where you're supposed to go when you've never traveled every single road on this planet? People don't give themselves the wiggle room to wander. They don't give themselves the wiggle room to just try stuff and see what sticks. The mindset that I tend to have personally, because I have so many hobbies, it's not even funny. I'm into reptiles, so I'm sitting in a reptile room that I've spent how many years building and rebuilding over and over again, trying out different things and seeing what my reptiles like best. I like painting, I like drawing, I like singing, I like writing music. I play a couple different instruments, and now I'm trying to get into the cello. And I got the stuff to start making stained glass mosaics, and I do all kinds of crafts. And all of these things that I am good at, I didn't get good at them by deciding, like, I'm going to get good at this thing. I always entered with a, well, let's see, kind of mindset. You know, the thing that I lucked out on is that I didn't seem to have been built with the limit switch in my brain. I'm just curious. I'm just a curious person by nature. I don't have that, but what if I suck at it? What if I end up not liking it? You know, I don't have that. I just have oh, I'm drawn to this thing. I'm going to give it a shot. And that has both hindered and benefited me in my life. But I've never regretted anything that I've learned how to do. I've never regretted picking up a new skill. And that seems to be the openness that this reading is calling for, is to just be open, be curious, be receptive, and see where that takes you. The Sun, the Fool, ultimate happiness and new beginnings, leaps of faith. That seems to be the direction that they want you to go, is to not have everything figured out, not have everything planned out, to just go. Just try. Just see what sticks. Okay. Now moving on to Aquarius. The Wheel of Fortune, Chariot in the challenge position, Ace of Wands in the challenge position, Father of Pentacles in the challenge position, Four of Pentacles in the challenge position, Daughter of Cups, Ace of Pentacles in the reverse, the Devil in the challenge position, and the Tower in the challenge position. I think I remember doing a reading for Aquarius where I was talking about how you need to be focusing on your pentacles right now. You need to be focusing on the one thing that you have that is steady, because it's going to get you where you need to be. Right now is not the time to be wondering about anything else. Because between the Chariot and the Ace of Wands is about forward movement, it's about inspiration. Father of Pentacles and Four of Pentacles is talking to me about foundations, material foundations. Like, this is almost saying, like, let's say there's a concert you want to go to, but you can't because you don't have the money to buy the tickets. There's a business that you want to start, but you can't because you don't have the funds or the knowledge that you would need. And the Devil and the Tower and the challenge positions are telling me that there are some habits, bad habits of yours that you're not letting fully die away. It's like you're trying to continue to exist while you have some limbs that are rotting, and you're holding on to these limbs because they're your limbs and you're scared to lose them, but they're rotting and they are infecting the rest of you, and it's spreading. The necrotic tissue is spreading, and at some point you have to cut off the rotting limb, and you're going to be walking around missing limbs, but you're still going to get to keep walking around kind of energy. Ace of Pentacles in reverse, Daughter of Cups. And the phrase that I just heard is all heart, no substance. I forget which sign I was just talking to about this, but humans inherently value what they value. They treat well whatever it is that they value, and it's just human nature to do so. And when they can't do that, when they can't treat something well, it's either because they don't actually value it as much as they think they do or think they should, or because they're so maladaptive and they're fundamentally missing something so severely that they can't even act out on the love that they feel. And that's what this feels like. This feels like there's something stirring in you that you can't just go for. The Chariot, Ace of Wands in the challenge position, because there's something missing. There's something that's not quite enough. Mother of Pentacles in the reverse. And the Mother of Pentacles is about nurturing. It's a giving, generous energy. And we have the Ace of Cups. And that's also about an offering from the heart. And then we have the Father of Wands, and he's about passion. It's like walking into a store and knowing in your heart of hearts that you want this particular thing. And if you got that thing, you would treat it so well, but you don't have the funds to even get it. It's like it's all passion, all heart, but no pentacles. See, again, we have the Son of Cups in the upright. And I know that the Pentacles is about money, but this doesn't feel like it's talking about money. This feels like it's talking about substance, something tangible. It's like, okay, you can love someone all you want, But if they're hunched over, puking into the toilet, do you think to hold their hair up for them? You can love someone with all your heart, but when they get sick, do you think to go get some Mucinex for them? You can love them, be willing to take a grenade for them and die for them, but can you live for them? Can you go to therapy for them? Can you straighten out your own toxic habits for them? Can you rebuild yourself into someone better for them? Can you do the tangible things that count, that matter? Because saying I love you means nothing, no matter how much your heart swells for them, if you can't do the tangible things that matter. Because most people, and I say most people because I am one, but most people aren't mind readers. And most people aren't satisfied with just knowing how much you love them, while also being treated in a way that leaves them feeling lack. Because when you love this way, when you love with your whole heart, but do nothing about it that counts, the position that you're putting the other person in makes them look stupid. He loves me. I know he does because I can feel it. I can feel his energy saying that he loves me, even though he does absolutely nothing to show it. And he adds absolutely nothing to my life. That's the position you're putting that person in. I've had to say this to someone before, but people don't exist in your mind. They exist out here in the world outside of your head. They exist independently of you. They perceive you. They interact with you. And they have their own processing systems independent of you. It's kind of like bad communicators where they just kind of say a bunch of stuff however they want to say it without any consideration to how the receiver is receiving it. And then go, well, I mean, it makes sense to me. Of course it makes sense to you because that whole conversation just happened in your head and you left me out of it. Communication is a foundation in relationship. And that's not just romantic. That's any sort of connection with another human being. And that's why communication is such an art, because it requires you to be considerate of the other person, to consider their mental capacity, to consider what you sound like to another person, to consider whether or not where they're at in their understanding of the situation that you are trying to explain. So that's why everything that a relationship entails, communication, connection, affection, consideration, it all stems from the foundation of empathy. Being able to imagine what the other person is feeling, how the other person is receiving you, what they must be going through. You have to be in tune with another person, and that requires the skill of empathy. Casper, you're being a lot right now. In order to have a healthy relationship, you need to be able to get out of your own head. And you need to be able to start considering what other people need of you and not just what you want to give or what you have to give. And if you don't have enough to give, either leave them alone or step up. Yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing that I hear a lot when I'm doing readings for people. And it's usually love readings that the clients come to me for. And they're like, well, I want to know how the other person feels about me. Why does that matter? Why does it matter how they feel about you? How did they treat you? How did they make you feel? How did they affect you? Did they treat you like they loved you? Did you feel loved? Did you feel safe in their presence? Did you feel happy with them? Then why does it matter what they feel? They could love you with their entire being, and it still wouldn't matter if they didn't know how to treat you. And then they sit there and they're just like, well, he's just misunderstood, or he's just, I'm sure she just She just doesn't know how to express it. Then that's not a catch. That's not someone you want. That's like getting a dog. You know, it starts out pissing on the carpet and stuff, and you think you're going to train it to start ringing a bell and going outside. Dogs are more trainable than humans are. Because in the case of humans, you're not supposed to have to like do the whole puppy pad shit. They're supposed to be a whole ass human before they get to you. They're supposed to come trained. You're not supposed to have to train them. And if they arrive and you don't like how they're acting, you're not supposed to keep them. So I mean, what? You know, you're getting a reading done over somebody that what? Like someone that didn't even have the empathy to consider how their actions affected you, or consider how they were talking to you before they talked to you sideways and disrespected you. And you're wondering about how they feel. It doesn't matter how they felt. It doesn't matter if they liked you. It doesn't matter, because look at how they treated you. Look at the skeletons in their closet. Me personally, I don't judge people for their past. I don't care what they did in the past. I don't care if they killed a man. But look at how they're acting about it now. Someone that has learned from their experiences, someone that has actually healed from their experiences enough to show up whole and correct for a connection, wouldn't be hiding all that from you. They wouldn't be trying to start something under false pretenses. They would have been open from the start. So basically what I'm saying is, the world doesn't revolve around your feelings. What affects the world is your actions. The ripples that you create aren't birthed from how you feel. They are birthed from how you move. And this goes for everyone, not just Aquarius. Because good intentions still don't excuse bad behavior, harmful behavior. Okay? Okay. Moving on to Pisces. Father of Cups in the challenge, the Emperor in the upright. The Hangman in the reverse, the Hierophant in the reverse. Four of Swords, Three of Cups in the challenge position. High Priest, or the High Priestess in the challenge position. Death. In the reverse. Daughter of Cups in the challenge. Star in the reverse, Five of Wands, and the Ten of Pentacles in the challenge. The Mother of Swords in the upright, along with the Lovers in the upright. This is an interesting scramble of cards. The Star in the reverse with the Daughter of Cups and the Father of Cups in the challenge, along with Death in the reverse, Ten of Pentacles and the Five of Wands in the challenge. This feels like the question of when did my dreams die? And an answer of at the same time my dreams were born. But then, like, this half of the spread is telling me that you're not done yet. Hangman reverse, Hierophant reverse, the Emperor upright is telling me that there's a part of your spirit that feels broken. Kind of like how a wild horse gets broken and tamed. But there's also that element of, I'm not done yet. It's like you're seeking empowerment. You're seeking sovereignty. You're seeking something more. It's like you've gotten so used to something not sitting right but now you're feeling the symptoms of it. It's kind of like if you have a habit of keeping your wallet in your back pocket and you sit, that misaligns your spine and your hips slightly. And after years of doing that, you start to develop like scoliosis or like misaligned hips, and then you go to the chiropractor and they set it back. And the more often they do that, it's almost like the looser stuff gets if you're not combining it with the right physical therapy. Anyway, that's a whole tangent, but it's like something that's been chronic that you've gotten used to. Suddenly you're not so used to it anymore. You're not so okay with it anymore. And that leads to a Mother of Swords and the Lovers moment. The Lovers is about choice. It's about decision. Before the card was even called the Lovers, it was called the Choice. And it was about choosing between two lovers. But that choice in that context is a choice that affects the rest of your life. Because when you choose a person, you're choosing your future. Mother of Swords is about discernment. She's also about looking at things with a more critical eye. This feels like discomfort, sudden discomfort. You know, here lately, I've been looking at my room. And my room, I mean, I never really thought too much about it. I've just been using everything in it. And, you know, I keep things where I keep things and I know where everything's at. But it's like I woke up one morning and I looked around and I was like, I don't like how it looks. Like, I don't like how messy it feels. I don't like the feng shui is off, is how I woke up feeling. And so I felt this sudden urge to just redo it. And I don't have the funds for that yet, but basically I have some furniture that I'm going to need and some furniture that I'm going to need to rearrange or get rid of or whatever. But it's that kind of feeling. It's like you've existed in a space for so long and it's always been a certain way. And all of a sudden you wake up one morning and you're like, it feels wrong. The Emperor is rigid. The Emperor is law. The Emperor is tradition. But he can also be unyielding. Any advice? The Empress. Four of Cups in the reverse and the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands is about new opportunities on the horizon. Four of Cups is about letting opportunity pass. It's about an unseen opportunity right in front of your eyes that you're not paying attention to. Like the image that I'm getting is this rat here. Let's say he's looking for water and he's walking all over these cups. One of them has water, but it's like he checked the first two and they were empty. So he didn't even bother looking at the other two. And now he's just walking over it to try to get to water. That's the kind of feeling that I'm getting from this card. Three of Wands. The opportunities are there, but it requires embodying the Empress. And the Empress, she's the divine counterpart of the Emperor, but she doesn't need him and he doesn't need her. Because she is all four queens rolled into one. That's discernment, strong communication, mental clarity, passion, drive, ambition, love, empathy, a generous heart, material stability, and generosity, all rolled into one. To be independent, to be sovereign requires strength. But it's like you're asking yourself the question over and over, what's worse? Everything that I'd have to do to become this, or everything that I have to endure because I'm not there? We are in Mercury retrograde after all. And that's the time of the year. Happens what, 4 times a year? Where we are meant to reflect on our circumstances and on the past. All of the decisions and all of the paths that we took to get to this point in the now. And revise within ourselves whether or not we're happy with where we are. And it feels like that's exactly what you're doing. Okay, so if you liked what you saw here today, please feel free to like, share, comment to help me out with the algorithm, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you get notified every time I post a video. And I'm thinking about rolling out personal readings. If anybody's interested, let me know if you are. And I'll see you in the next one.